the answers to that. We have concerns about the economic impact of the loss of jobs that will happen here. Really about the approach and of your analysis and the scope of this analysis, far too narrow in terms of looking at your overall district and coming up with a solid plan for your services. I think there's also a real lack of awareness among businesses, especially as it relates to the bulk customers. We had to go out to bulk customers and make them aware that there was going to be a cost increase for them. Most of them, their first response was, no, it's not going to affect me. But upon analysis and talking to postal staff, the opposite is actually very true. Usually when there's some sort of efficiencies that can be gained, that efficiency translates into cost savings for the customer, better service for the customer. In both these cases, I don't think that this is going to happen in this case. The process really has not been transparent. Our request for information has been ignored by the U.S. Postal Service, and quite frankly, I'm very frustrated by that. As a Chamber of Commerce, jobs are very important to this community. I asked the UW Extension Office to do an economic impact, assuming the post office closes and 140 jobs would go away. The effect of that would be, there's not just the direct 140 jobs, but there's 47 indirect jobs that would be affected, so a total of 187, which is a loss of $18.9 million in wages, both direct and indirect wages, and also sales that they would spin back into the economy. The state, local government revenues would decrease. These are property tax, income taxes, and sales taxes of over $550,000. At this time, we can't afford to lose taxes, quite frankly. And business sector, service sector, retail sector would really be impacted by this. And taking a look at this and looking at your presentation, frankly, it does not pass the sniff test. I recommend you start over and go what Gordon is saying, go to the approach, take a look at the entire district, look at Green Bay, look at Oshkosh again, look at Kingsford, look at Wausau, and do a study and do it right. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Paulette Deld. I live in Oshkosh and I work at the University of Wisconsin-Oshkosh, and I'm also president of the Employees Union here on campus. And speaking for my members, which Sarah is one of them, a lot of them are concerned about the impact of the change in mail service on how their jobs are going to be. And as Representative Hintz presented to us, the state certainly doesn't have the money at this point to be able to afford some of the changes that could occur in our offices on campus because of the changes in your mail service. A lot of my members want to know, when are we going to get the mail in the morning compared to when we get it now? I work in the library, and right now we get our mail at 8 o'clock in the morning directly from the post office. That's going to make a drastic change to our services. People in offices are going to have a shorter amount of time to turn around the mail to get to our students and prospective students, so it's going to impact our jobs. I have two other questions before I'm done. As John Casper stated, you haven't talked, and even your map didn't include the fact that you have a plant up in Kingsford, Michigan. I think Kingsford, Michigan probably would fit in with getting the mail to Florence on time, and you haven't talked about that at all. My second question is kind of like the question that everybody has and they haven't asked. Why was the Green Bay study stopped abruptly? And all of a sudden, Oshkosh became the center of your attention. Thank you.
The problem with Florence and Kingsford, and admittedly it's a lot closer to Kingsford than it is to Green Bay, is the zip code. The Florence zip code is 541, and 541 SCF is served out of Green Bay. And it's very, very difficult, if not impossible, to take one 5-digit zip code out of an SCF like 541 and say we're going to service it out of a different plant. I won't say it's impossible, but it might be. In my 34 years of the Postal Service, it would be almost impossible to do that.
The delivery of your mail, the time of day that you get it now, it shouldn't change at all for you? When you receive your mail, you should still get the mail the same time that you do?
Will you put money on that?
Okay, all right. No.
Are you going to answer about the study?
No. No, you do not have to go to Green Bay to get it.
What was the second question you asked her on the boards? It was actually 10 months in the making, and it was stopped because the savings were not sufficient enough to move forward. Because the Green Bay into Oshkosh was just in a local collection originating outgoing A&P, not a full closure. That's the difference. It's like comparing apples to oranges.
I'm Dave Elbach. I'm a resident of Fond du Lac and a current employee at the Fond du Lac Post Office. And I'd just like to comment on the last lady's doings that you can't change the 541 since the last 35 years, but you're expecting us to change every step of the way. Anyway, I have questions in regards to the service standard impacts for all classes of mail from the Post Office Series 408, Section 2-1, the Area Mail Processing Guidelines Manual. I'm wondering about, will all the mail currently being processed in Oshkosh go to the Green Bay facility? If not, why is it not going to Green Bay, as to that was the facilities that was supposed to be consolidated to? And if not, what mail will not go to Green Bay and where will it go? And if not, was the Postal Service going to notify us of that information so we can make an informed decision?
If I understood the first part of your question, you're asking is the mail from Oshkosh going to go to Green Bay to get processed under this proposal?
Yes.
The answer is yes, all of it.
That's all first-class mail?
Correct.
And third-class flats and all that would be processed?
Everything.
Everything would be processed in
Green Bay. Yes.
Okay. In regards to the standards and to getting the mail back to the customers in the same time frame that you currently do, will there not be cutoff times earlier than usual due to the processing of the mail and having to get it down to the farther locations?
Not from a first-class perspective, but the biggest change will be in the bulk mail acceptance unit hours at the Oshkosh plant/post office, because those hours will be reduced. So that's the change that I would envision.
Thank you.
David Braska with the City of Oshkosh. I think we would agree that the post office is in a fairly large hole and some things have to change. I would expect that you would also agree that when you make those changes, you are going to significantly affect whichever community you decide to change. I think because of the post office's financial condition and because of the change that you are going to impose on communities, that we should all expect that the post office will be moving forward in a comprehensive and complete manner. That is not happening. Instead of a comprehensive and complete manner, we have a haphazard study that has resulted in an unsubstantiated conclusion that lacks credibility. tonight. We think there are too many costs that have not been included in this $4.6 million number. And finally, $4.6 million savings, even if that's true, that doesn't really mean anything in a vacuum. How do the taxpayers and the consumers of the post office know that there could not be greater savings elsewhere? It appears that Oshkosh was simply picked, a number was created, and there's nothing to compare to. We would echo the comments of others in that a full study needs to be undertaken, not just of Oshkosh and Green Bay, but all of the facilities in this region. And only then, when you study all of those and come to using actual numbers and come with concrete conclusions, only then can you make a decision and justify adversely affecting the communities that you intend to adversely affect. We believe that this study should be halted, as other AMPs have been halted according to your website, until other facilities have been studied and we can come to a logical conclusion about working towards getting the post office out of the hole that it's in now.
Bruce Baden, postal worker. Thanks for having this meeting, and me more than anybody wants to keep the post office open. When you were at, Steve, when you were at the Green Bay office, or at the Oshkosh, you had a little talk with us, and you mentioned that the mail that's in Green Bay right now, it's 2-day service to Milwaukee and those areas, should have been that way already. So really, isn't this study, what you're doing is just degrading 549 overnight service to Portage? Because we do it right now.
I made that statement, and some of the Green Bay mail that is 2-day does get home overnight, but not all of it. So there is an upgrade.
You said it should be done already, even if this
yeah,
amp wasn't complete.
That's true.
So really, this is just a degrade in the 549 mail.
I don't agree with you, but I understand where you're coming from.
Well, because we're going to be 2 days to Portage.
2 days to Portage.
So it's a degrade for 549.
Roughly 4,000 pieces a day.
Right. So it's just a degrade for 549 because this other mail that we're talking about for 15,000 should be that way already.
The point is, it's not. The point is, it's not.